It was Christmas Eve night 1944 in Westtown on Tory Island. No bodies from the war had been washed up on the shore that day. The turkeys were roasting, the geese had been fattened, killed, plucked and hung, the cakes baked and the plum puddings made. Every cottage on the island was festooned with decorations, like the evergreen Christmas trees which had been delivered on the mailboat from the Irish mainland. Pillowcases hung at the end of the children's beds, waiting for Santa to arrive, and the islanders were gathered in the chapel, wearing their Sunday best for midnight mass. For young Bridget O'Shea, sitting in tears next to her parents, it was a particularly poignant night. Her first Christmas as a married woman. Her first Christmas without her husband, who was away to the war on the German submarine, the U-104, that had sought sanctuary on the island in an ancient crater they called the Ram's Hollow, which was linked to the Atlantic by an underwater tunnel. Victor Cameron, the Australian-born British Sunderland flying boat captain, and his Welsh co-pilot Taffy Evans sat in the officers' mess in Archdale Manor, the headquarters of RAF Western Command on the shores of Lough Erne, with only the gramophone in the corner for company. Heavy snow was falling outside, drifting against the walls of the house. There were ice floes on the shores of the loch. The rest of the Sunderland flying boat crews had been given time off to return home to their families in England. For once in a blue moon, there'd be no flying and no war in the waters of the North Atlantic. Lough Erne and Tory Island were at peace. Cameron's mind was 12,000 miles away with his family in New South Wales. He poured 2 more generous measures of scotch into their glasses and passed one to Taffy. Taffy's mind was counting white sheep in the hills high above the small but bustling market town of Corwin in North Wales. He'd been offered a 7-day leave pass to return home to his father, but he turned down the opportunity. "Somebody has to mind our old boat," he'd said to Cameron. "I'm fed up with Christmas. I'm not going to leave you here to get maudlin drunk all by yourself." Glenn Miller and his band played on the gramophone in the corner, and Cameron and Taffy's voices joined in too, if only in their minds.
Blue moon, you saw me standing alone.
Cameron drowned his drink in one and poured another 2. "Happy Christmas, mate," he said to Taffy. "Maybe live to see another one." "I prefer Duke Ellington," said Cameron. "The Duke," said Taffy. "Let's drink a toast to the Duke." "I need a Duchess," said Cameron. From the back of the chapel, the King of Tory Island accompanied the haunting carol on his old battered accordion. Bridget thought she heard other voices singing the same carol coming up the track from East Town. It wasn't her imagination. The voices grew louder and stronger. The door of the chapel was eased open, and the words drifted in with the snowflakes. And there at the back of the congregation stood the crew of the U-104 and her beloved Bugs, home from the sea for Christmas. The men and the women of Tory turned and rose in a body. Their voices rose in a crescendo. Fingers tapped on the frosted window pane. Cameron rose slowly to his feet, opened the heavy brown wooden door with the big brass key, and pulled back the cast-iron bolt. "I didn't expect to see you here," he said. "Merry Christmas," said Betty Simpson, the land girl from Lancashire. "I wasn't going to come, but I heard you two were alone. I brought you your Christmas presents." She opened her bag and showed Cameron 2 roast turkey dinners on plates wrapped up in greaseproof paper. There was also a pair of cufflinks for Taffy and a Union Jack tie for Cameron. Cameron smelt the delicious aroma of home cooking. He could almost taste the turkey, roast potatoes, and Brussels sprouts. "Taffy," he shouted, "get another glass from behind the bar." "Come in and get warm," he said to Betty. "A very Merry Christmas to you too." "The mass has ended. Go forth in peace," said the priest. The islanders and the German sailors slipped out into the falling snow, still singing John Freeman's haunting carol. Vic Cameron was sleeping now in the milky, pale white arms of Betty Simpson. He still wore a red-pointed party hat with a green crepe paper tassel on his head. Taffy slept alone in a chair in the mess. The mistletoe hadn't worked for him that year. As Christmas Eve became Christmas Day, Cameron and Betty made love under the mistletoe for what he swore would be the very last time. The Glen Miller 78 was on continuous play.
You saw me standing alone, without a dream in my heart.
Bridget took Bugs home through the snow, and he collapsed into his armchair, with her on his lap and their arms entwined. They fell asleep and slept happily and contentedly in front of the Christmas tree and the roaring fire, with Houlihan, her Irish red setter, slumbering at the feet. The haunting music lulled them into the dreams of a better and a freer world ahead, a world where old adversaries and the children would once again know peace on earth.
Christ our Son.